Ladies and gentlemen, today, Lucy and I got married. That's it. That's the whole video. Bye. Just kidding. Obviously, we're going to have some sort of chess content, and I will introduce that in a moment. There are timestamps on the video player if you just want to jump ahead. And at the end, I'm actually going to share some wise words that are not going to be about chess. You can also skip ahead to that part. It's going to be about the marriage and relationship and life and all that good stuff. But I figured that's the first thing that I would start out with, is that news, because this is the largest platform that I have. And actually, yesterday I recorded my video with this ring. I almost forgot to take it off. So to celebrate, I will be wearing a rose shirt. I really like this shirt. Lucy and I didn't do a crazy big ceremony. We're not like, it's not something that we wanted. We will travel in the future to a honeymoon, and we'll do something with our families. But that's the news. So thank you for all your kind words on social media already. I posted on Twitter. Today, I have a very special video for you. And that video is going to take you through Lucy's chess journey through this relationship of ours. So this is one of the earliest games that she played, and then I will show you the first game that she ever won, basically playing completely on her own. It's going to be a really, really fun video. This is basically how to lose at chess, wife edition. I'm really proud of her though, because she stuck with it. This is from early 2019, and Lucy got up to about 1100 in like 500 to 600 games of chess, which is actually very good. That's really, really good. I mean, some of you did it faster, and a lot of people do it slower. So this is one of her earliest games, and it begins with d4. Lucy was, you know, a protege of the London system to a fault. She played against an Egyptian gentleman whose name was Hamid. This is, like I said, early 2019. And she was so dedicated to her craft that here she played bishop to f4, just losing the London bishop in a move. Her opponent didn't take. He played e5, which is a move I don't comprehend whatsoever. By the way, if you're confused about the ratings, when you first start out on chess.com, you know how the rating goes up, or on any website, goes up and down a lot because it's trying to adapt to your playing strength. Well, this is kind of what's going on. So that, you know, now white is winning because white should take with the bishop. She takes with the pawn, and the queen can still take on f4. Hamid here moved up to f5, so didn't take the bishop. The best move here for white would be to continue natural development with e3, defending this bishop and preparing just to attack the queen. Again, the queen. This is why you should not bring your queen out early. Lucy plays e4. It's not a bad move on its own. It's defended, and it does attack the queen, opens up the bishop. The problem is that now black realizes he has nowhere else to go and takes the bishop on f4. Lucy at this point is like, I really don't like that queen. It's very scary. Let's go trade it off. He takes me, I take back. Good trade. All right? Can't hate on it. Good beginner logic. And on queen takes e5, she said, I should castle my king. You know, Coach Gotham, who back then is just a strange boy who I have gone on several dates with, tells me that I should be castling my king. Keep in mind, Lucy basically only learned chess when we started dating. So, you know, Coach Gotham says not to hang your bishop on move 3, but it is what it is. Now black plays bishop to b4, which is not a bad move. Lucy kind of also develops the bishop to the middle, and here black blunders. Black blunders the game away completely because the queen and the bishop just stare together. It's sort of like a scholar's mate tactic. Queen takes f7 would lead to a devastating attack on the king. Lucy, though, is a very principled beginner. She's not going to move her queen again because she hasn't moved every piece out. So she develops her other knight. She hasn't moved that knight yet. Very good play, minus being down a bishop and a pawn. We don't hate it. Her opponent now plays just a disaster of a move. I mean, h5 is... there is a reason her opponent never played a chess game since January 2021. They quit for a reason. They quit because of moves like h5. Because this is not something you can fix. It is, but I'm just being mean. Now, g4. G4 is definitely not great. It looks like a trade. It's definitely not a trade. And now the bishop comes out to g4 and hits the queen. So right now, Lucy in serious trouble. She, again, misses several chances to take on f7. Now she is going to be trading queens, probably knights, probably bishops, and just be much worse. Bishop on e2, knight jumps back to e2, and queen e4. So queen e4 is actually losing again. If the queen journeys down to g7 and takes the pawn and takes the rook and takes the knight and just beats everybody up. We have f3, though, which is definitely not good. And now queen c4, and now black is up a lot of material. But now Lucy does, in fact, spot queen g7. This is great. The counterplay is beginning. Black has absolutely no way to save the rook. And if black takes the knight on e2, well, that's also a good move. You cannot pin the queen to the king because the bishop would just take it. But maybe that would have happened. Instead, we have queen takes a2, and this is the very big danger when you castle queenside. Always be careful that your a pawn is defended. That's why you should play king b1. But also, this you're not going to escape because the bishop covers, and that's sadly how the game concluded. Before I was actually recording this video, I showed Lucy this game, and she laughed. She and I both laughed, and her accuracy this game was a whopping 3. That's it. It was actually 3.2. She scored a 3. That's good when the scale is 1 to 5. When it's 1 to 100, it's not very good. But she persevered. Almost a metaphor of any successful relationship. Don't believe everything you see in photographs. Always remember that what people usually post, particularly influencers, YouTubers, etc., on social media, is all the positives of their life. And oftentimes they are kind of suppressing all the negatives, not going to show you that side of things. It almost looks like things don't take work. They come effortlessly. But it's not true. At least not for our relationship, not for life in general, both of ours. We've all had to go through certain things, ups and downs, and we had to persevere and get better and not give up, and that's why we go to this game. And this is just a day later from that other game. I mean, Lucy's still battling around in that pinball machine of ELO when you're first starting out, trying to land and nail down your proper skill. And this one's going to be a fun game. After I went on that monologue, I realized that actually Lucy played black in this game. So I had to cut out a little part of the video, but that's why we have video editing. So Lucy played black in this game. And in this game, it was actually her opponent who played the London system. So you see what I did to the water supply of beginner chess. I poisoned it mildly, but the London's good. Other openings are good. It's a very easy opening to play. Good introduction, in my opinion. Now here, my wife, I love her dearly, but don't do stuff like this. You don't need to give empty checks in the beginning of the game, because what's going to happen is you're just going to run into pawn moves. I mean, in the case of the London, you're helping your opponent get the London setup anyway, but just period. Like you don't want to do it even if you're playing with white. Very rarely are checks in the first like 5 to 8 moves good. Very rarely. Sometimes, but very rarely. So bishop b4 is not great. Let me tell you right now, I think here Lucy was like, I don't want to move my bishop again because I already did, or piece values were still not a big thing, and she just gives the bishop cleanly away. Like, she's just like, if they take me, I take back, we each get a piece. Definitely, I've had students like that who were younger, and they would look at the side of the board and go, oh, they took 3 pawns, and I took a queen, rook, and bishop, so it's the same because it's 3 pieces. Definitely not. I'm not comparing my wife's skill level to that, but perhaps that's what she was thinking, or she was just like, I don't want to move the bishop. I already moved it once. But I personally think, I know Lucy, she's a creative individual. I personally think it was a strategic sacrifice to make the opponent feel gluttonous and then get a kind of sense, like lull them into a sense of comfortability and then pounce. So knight f3, and here comes rook to a5. I mean, this is not something I teach. This is something you let the fighter figure out, right? So rook to a5, fascinating idea to attack the bishop here. The bishop moves out of the way, and now we take the center. We kind of go back to basic principles. a3, simple pawn trade, nothing complicated. We got to develop, and now we got to figure out what we're doing. So we go out with the queen. Safe move. I don't hate it. It's a really difficult position. In any position, you have to think about pawn moves and piece moves. Right now, black does not have any serious pawn moves. You move this pawn, you lose this knight. You move this pawn, you lose this pawn. You're kind of cramped. Maybe you got to move the knight into the middle, accepting a trade. Queen d7 is not a bad move. e5 is a bad move. It's a bad move because you're losing the kind of the fight here, so we can't play that move. Take, bishop e5. However, sometimes losing a pawn in a game opens things up. And when you open things up in chess, you either get your pieces all active and coordinated, or you just lose the rest of them. And that's okay. At least something is going to happen in the game, right? So we have h3. She can take on e5, but she chooses to go back to h6. A principled decision, given that she is, in fact, down some material. Rook comes out to a2. Rook slides over to e8. Not a bad move at all. Bishop f4. Now we have queen c6. Queen c6, not bad. Trading queens isn't super recommended right now, but whatever. Knight c3. White doesn't want it. And here, rook c5. So rook c5, you don't even get to see the eval bar kind of grow even more. Rook c5 is no good because just simply pawn takes on c5. But sometimes beginners miss these kind of close quarters tactics, and I think here white was like, oh my god, my knight is in danger, I have to protect it. you know, fair. The eval bar isn't going anywhere. It's plus 12 or plus 8. It's sort of insignificant. And now we have bishop to f5 offering an exchange of bishops. White here plays e4. E4 definitely will string the advantage a bit. Still, white is definitely winning because there is just a hanging rook. So we have pawn takes on e4. Knight takes e4, which is a first significant mistake by white, because now you take this rook and then you take this knight. So you're actually gaining some material back. In general, in chess, in close quarters combat like this, you have to look at what you can take, but you also have to look at what they can take of yours. And you should, in general, be going for max captures first, unless when you take this rook, the knight can jump somewhere. But you should be taking what can be worth the most. Rather than taking on c2 or play bishop e4, my beloved wife here plays definitely a shocking move. Rook d8 is an interesting one for sure, but most likely not very good. She chooses to take nothing, and here the opponent is like, oh, yay, rook, but, oh, yay, rook, but now here comes this. Okay, this knight is now attacked 2 times as the chair has been kicked out from beneath it. That is a very dark description, if you know what I'm talking about. Bishop to g5 is not a good move. That knight is now hanging in 2 different fashions, and it gets captured. And to follow up bishop g5, what white should be doing here is just trading pieces, coordinating, maybe getting into the back rank, trading rooks. White plays this, which just simply... I can't even begin to explain this move. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there was some chess.com quest you had to complete, like get a piece to the 7th rank of the opponent. I don't know. And it pops up the accomplishment like ding or something. I don't know. And now black is winning if black follows the yellow brick road down to this king. It's over because the rook is hanging, but so is rook h3, rook h1. I mean, you win. Like, you just win the game. The king has no defense to this attack. You just need to not get mated on the back rank. Always keep in mind when you're getting mated on the back rank, don't get mated. Here, queen a4. I don't quite get it. Queen a4. It attacks a pawn, I guess. It's one of these moves, like you click the queen, and then like the hypothetical moves pop up, you know, like on chess.com, it shows you where you can move the queen, and you're like, oh, that looks cool. So you just do it. Yeah, that's why that's a risk for beginners to play with legal moves enabled, because they'll just, oh, I can click that dot, boop. All right, rook e2, not a bad move. Also threatens nothing. Bishop c6, retreating, okay. Rook e5, again, a move I don't understand in the slightest. I don't know what white is trying to do here, but that's not my job. That's white's job, and I don't know, so they don't know. Nobody knows. Queen takes a3. Queen a3 on its own, it's actually a fine move because that was the entire idea of queen a4. The computer hates it because it thinks that white knows queens can move this far. White definitely doesn't know that. Queen g5 is winning for white. Because black cannot prevent the attack. Like, black cannot prevent a nasty threat here. There's actually a brutal checkmate threat. It's not even bishop f6, queen g7. It's queen g7 immediately. Queen g7 here, check, king h8, bishop f6. If anyone 633 does this against you, report them not to chess.com, to the government. Okay, they probably have some sort of weapons in their house. All right, that's no beginner plays queen g5, queen g7, okay? Nobody. No. Queen f4, very human move and not a bad move. White did know queens go far, but not as far as g5. b5, challenging the opponent if they are well versed in the art of en passant, and if not, if you can't snatch me now, you better be careful because this pawn might become a queen in the future. White here plays bishop d8, completing the chess.com task of putting a piece on your opponent's back rank, also hanging the bishop in one move. Here, white was looking for rook e8. Lucy just plays b4 because she played b5. She might as well go b4. She's got a queen, rook, bishop, and knight. Very 4 powerful pieces, but she hasn't given the pawn a chance. Pawn's got to go. Now, rook e8, obviously. No, not obviously. Bishop takes c7. Okay, bishop takes c7. Pawn keeps going. Now the opponent's like, wait, why did I take that pawn? I'm so stupid. I forgot about mate. You know that like feeling? You play a move, you think it's mate. You sit there, you're like, wait, why is the game not stopping? You've had that. Only move. You force your opponent to take your rook. They have no choice. You're sitting like, wait, why is it not mate? Oh, because bishop e8. Okay. Queen e4. Now you're threatening the rook and the bishop. Black has to go here to prevent it. All right. Rook d8 also prevents you from losing the bishop, but you lose the rook. Okay. Not so bad. Now, bishop to a4. I love this. This is fantastic. Like finding the bishop and escape path. And now this actually threatens rook queen e8, sacking the queen. I don't know if by sheer miracle or a stroke of genius, Lucy here plays king h8 to bring the knight to... This is, oh my god. I mean, this is how you know you have potential in chess. You can find king h8 to avoid back rank mate with knight g8 to block. I mean, that is gangster. Queen to e7, looking to go to f8. Now, there is no threat, so you actually don't have to play knight g8. You can keep pushing, and the b-pawn did, in fact, fulfill its prophecy and is going to make it down to the end of the board. We have knight to g8, queen f7, b2. Wait a second. Who is responsible for stopping this pawn? Nobody can get to the checkmate area, because if you play rook to e7, I mean, I can take it, but I can also queen. I can make a queen with check. So bishop c7, again, the bishop moves in this game that just simply did not make any sense. And now queen b3, losing the game. Lucy loses because takes, and the pawn can be stopped. Rook b1. But white plays rook b1 first. And Lucy takes the queen and wins the game. Not quite. She plays queen c2, and now queen a2 is the only move to prevent anything, and actually also still wins the pawn, and white is still winning. But white freaks out, sees a hanging rook, and decides to hang the queen as well. So when you're gonna lose a rook, you might as well lose a rook and a queen. And now we have check here and take the queen. No, we don't take the queen, but instead we go b1. And in this position, white could have resigned, but instead ran out the clock. And in true 600 fashion, lost the game on time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 2 of Lucy's earliest games on chess.com. And I told you at the end I would just talk a little bit about, I mean, chess and then life and so on. We don't really do this, but this is kind of off the cuff recording. So yeah, I mean, listen, Lucy learned chess really because we were together. It's kind of difficult not to play the game of chess when you are with me. I didn't force it, and you shouldn't force your spouse or significant other or children or adults or dogs or cats to play chess either. Let them come to it naturally. But she stuck with it, and she actually was quite good, and she hasn't played recently. She and I both haven't played chess too seriously recently. We tend to get kind of mad when we lose, and that's why we're made for each other. And I said in the beginning, like I mentioned it when I was talking before the second game, I wanted to share the positive news with all of you, let it inspire you in whatever, nice and positive way that it can. But I don't want anybody to look at this and think that we are like some sort of role model or pinnacle of success or anything like that. I'm very frank with this stuff, and relationships take work, they take effort, and sometimes you have to look in the mirror and go, you know what, I'm not being the best version of myself, and I definitely could be, and it's worth the change for this individual and for this course of life. And I've said it many times in interviews and all these things that I do that ever ask me about Lucy, including the documentary on chess.com, but there wouldn't be Gotham Chess without Lucy. And I look forward to our life together, and I hope it's going to be good, and we'll be reporting any major changes in it with all of you, because that's the kind of life that we are currently leading. It is definitely a bit of an influencer life, and I will share the ups and I will share the downs, and that's what you get when you watch Gotham Chess. It won't be one way or the other only. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed, if you actually had the patience to make it through to the end of the video, and I will see you back for regularly scheduled programming tomorrow. Get out of here.